Alright guys, so it's been a while since I've done one of these, one of my pointless rants, and today I want to talk to you about the adpocalypse. For those of you who are not aware, the adpocalypse is sort of a kerfuffle going on YouTube right now, where YouTube has gotten into some hot water with its advertisers for various reasons, and is cutting everyone's ad revenue, making the platform unviable as a, job, quote unquote, for the people who have been making money off it for various reasons. And I'd like to sort of share with you my opinions on what's going on, what needs to happen, and so on and so forth. So let's start with some principal actors in this whole drama. The people who are causing YouTube to change its policies. The first one is major media outlets, who, at least to some degree, have been viewing YouTubers as a little bit of competition. I don't think they're actually threatened by YouTubers, but since investigative reporting is the real bread and butter of news media, and they've been doing less and less of that in recent years, all news has become just opinions. And why should I get my opinions from a guy in a $1 million studio on television when I can get from some guy on YouTube who is no less interesting than Roger Stone or Bill O'Reilly? They have higher production quality, but they no longer have anything to offer because they've gotten lazy. So this is part of it, and part of it is they're just looking for a good story. Getting involved in this nonsense is a good, high-profile story for them to get involved in. The second group here is smaller media outlets, ones who are more left-leaning. I mean, I think most media outlets are left-leaning right now, but we're talking about small websites, people who in recent years have been basically attacked by those they criticize the most for them claiming that they're being replaced, they're being criticized by these people who are saying that they will be replaced by YouTubers. And this is a good chance, and they've been taking those opportunities in the past few years to attack YouTube. So the smaller outlets just sort of also join into the story for political reasons. The next people who are very interested in this are the actual ad companies, who don't actually mind having their content on most of this content, their commercials on most of this content. What they do care about is money. Now, they're obviously not actually intimidated by having their ads on a bunch of controversial content. They know that this stuff just happens. They're not new to this, but this is a good chance for them to get more money by sort of pretending to buy into this. They're faking horror and indignation so that they can pressure YouTube into giving them better terms. Now, YouTube is also sort of complicit in this. I mean, of course it doesn't want to get less money from advertisers, but in the last few years, it had a contentious relationship with its creators, and is trying to constantly sort of gently nudge them towards making more family-friendly content. They don't like the association with the more provocative content on the platform. They know that videos directed at small children get hundreds of millions of views, hundreds of millions, because parents just plop their children down in front of a YouTube video that's set to play over and over again, and a 5-year-old will watch the same 5-minute video 100 times if you let him. Kids are just like that. Studies have shown this. Now, the next people who are sort of interested in this, the people who are helping this propagate a little bit, people who are sort of connected to the news media and to the smaller news media, are social media sites. See, there's been a big push against fake news, and YouTube is sort of collected into this vague, incongruous definition of fake news because a lot of the biggest social media sites are, their staff is left-leaning. They were very much against the election of Donald Trump, and you could see that there was certainly a push by at least Twitter and Facebook to sort of sweep any positive comments about Trump under the rug and put any negative news stories that attack Trump or support the left on the front page. There's been some real pressure here, some real attempt, maybe not a coordinated attempt, but it's seemingly from the outside, it looks like this is what's going on to some degree. So a lot of major sites are also interested in this more PC YouTube that might come about if ads pull out. Another group who is also interested in this is a certain patent troll who, well, essentially a patent troll who believes that for YouTube and Google to be able to get rid of this sort of content, they'll have to use his patent and then he can sue them. And I'm not saying that this is a conspiracy. What I am saying is this is what you would call a serendipitous conspiracy. Various groups who are interested in the same thing for various reasons are not outright cooperating. There's no meeting in a dark, smoky room where they agree on this, but they all see that certain events are to their benefit and they promote these things and try to get the trend to continue. So this is where YouTubers are stuck now. They make their money off making these videos, and YouTube is being pressured by advertisers who are being pressured by small and large news outlets who are being propagated by social media sites to try and get rid of any sort of controversial content on their site. So where do you go forward from here? What should or will happen? Now, my personal belief is that the most likely thing to happen is that things just go back to normal. There'll be a little more oversight over what's on YouTube, but generally speaking, YouTube has no interest in getting rid of so many content creators. It knows full well that without people making content, they don't make money. Now they can get rid of all the adult sort of content, all the political content, but they'll be losing a large portion of their site. What they aim to do here is sort of comply with the ad sites, with the advertisers, give them some better terms, and then sort of slowly stop enforcing their rules. I've seen this happen on a lot of sites. There's some pressure, there's some controversy, new rules are put in place, and then they're enforced subjectively. They're enforced not at all, or they're enforced whenever there's a controversy, or they start getting enforced against a specific group when the sort of culprit culture within the organization changes. You see it happen a lot if you pay attention to this sort of stuff. Now, the second possible thing that might happen is that YouTubers start to censor themselves. They don't want to lose money, and they just continue to make content, but they start being very wary of getting demonetized. Now, I think this is the least likely thing to happen because of the third alternative that I think can possibly happen, that they go somewhere else. I don't think that they will censor themselves. At least a lot of them will not censor themselves if they know they can make money on a different site, which will not make them do that. Now, let me explain to you why I think that the best option for people who are concerned by this is to simply go somewhere else, and why I think that's not going to happen anytime soon, maybe eventually, but not at this very moment, even though the controversy is currently at its peak, as it seems. YouTube is a content-driven site where the content is under the control of the creator. Let's compare this for a second with Reddit. Let's remember for a second the Reddit Chairman Pao controversy. Now, one of the people working at Reddit was fired by their new CEO, whose first name I forget, last name was Pao. A lot of people took issue with this, and they began darkening their subreddits in protest, turning off the site, their part of the site, keeping people from using it. Some of the people were doing this in general protest of this person being fired. Others were doing it because they didn't like Pao, because they saw her as a race-baiting, radical feminist con artist, which is something the community on Reddit, large parts of it, are very opposed to. They sort of saw her as a corporate Anita Sarkeesian. So they sort of joined in for their own reasons, not necessarily because they cared about this person being fired. And the result of this was that in a few days, 90% of Reddit's traffic just disappeared because people who were against that could control parts of the site. They could delete their own communities. Now, let's compare this for a second to Facebook. Let's say people are disgruntled with Facebook, They don't like what Facebook is doing. They don't like that certain news stories are disappearing, that people are getting banned for stupid things, and they decide to leave. This has very little effect on Facebook because you do not control the content of Facebook. If you leave, there's no reason for other people on Facebook to leave the site. You can't delete anything on the site that people come to Facebook to see, except maybe if you run a meme page, and there are hundreds of those anyways. So people leaving Facebook, unless it's a huge exodus, will not affect Facebook. Now let's look at YouTube itself. YouTube is in a similar position to Reddit, but not exactly. Reddit is in a position where people have control over the content of the site, but have nothing to lose. Twitter is in a position where people have nothing to lose, Facebook have nothing to lose and have no control over the content. And it's similar to Twitter. People will maybe leave Twitter if certain other people leave, but generally speaking, Twitter is not seriously hurt if huge users leave it. Now YouTube, by contrast, is in a different situation. Its content is controlled by the people making it, but the people making it do have something to lose, because if you're making YouTube videos for money, you could leave the site, but then you'll lose your money. That's why people are not as fast to turn off their channels and just go somewhere else, even if there is a viable opportunity somewhere else to make money, because they know they'll lose a lot of money. It'll take time for them to rebuild their audience. It'll take time for the site they move to grow and create a viable community for these people. So even though they could hurt YouTube by leaving, if many of them decide to do so, they would also be hurting themselves. Let's go back to Reddit for a second. When Reddit began losing its subreddits, another site took advantage of this called Voat, or Voat, not really sure how that's pronounced, and immediately it got investors, people started moving there, and Reddit understood that they fucked up and sort of swept the whole incident under the rug. She resigned, quote unquote, but she was fired. She was told, listen, you can either quit or we fire you, and getting fired will be worse. And this is generally the regular cycle I've seen on websites ever since I was a kid. A new site pops up, it's very lax on its rules, people just join, they can do whatever they want, and gradually, because of this lax attitude, the sites begin to grow, create a community, start becoming financially viable. Now, when you're not making any money, it's very easy to tell people to fuck off. If someone tells you to change the site, to do something you don't want, and in exchange they'll give you money, well, you've never had money before, you're not getting money now, you can just say no. But once a site starts making money, it's much harder to stick to your principles when you can lose something that you already have. In a very interesting book by Dan Ariely, he described an experiment they did in India, where they gave people simple tasks and they offered them money for every time that they completed the task, like a dartboard, for example. When they offered them no money, there was no significant change to their skills. When they offered them nothing. When they offered them money, then the more they lost and the more chances they lost to make money, and the more money they offered the different groups, like were they offering them a penny or were they offering them $1,000 for every bullseye they get, the more pressure was put on them, the less they would perform well as the pressure built up. Now, the most pressure was created when people were shown a large pile of money and were told you will lose the money every time you miss a hit. Because seeing something that you already see as yours and seeing yourself gradually losing it is much harder psychologically than it is to not get something you already don't have. And that's sort of the situation with sites as they become bigger. They sort of start to get money, and when advertisers or companies or their board of directors, once the site gets big enough, start to put pressure on them, well, they don't want to lose the money that they already have. They don't want to lose the nice house that the CEO has. So they kowtow. They start to march in lockstep with this. And this is sort of the situation that, well, all of these sites have been going through. Now, as I said, there are three options here of what's going to happen. Either YouTube sort of capitulates to some degree and then gradually goes back to normal, and those who wait it out will continue with their channels, maybe make slightly less money, but they'll be fine. Second option, maybe YouTubers just all censor themselves and those who can't just leave. Or third option, those who can't censor themselves or won't censor themselves find a viable alternative and go. But to do that, they need to accept the sort of financial and, well, they need to make some sacrifices. So the problem here is that certain people can leave and others can't. See, the people who can just up and go to a different platform are huge YouTubers and very small YouTubers. Huge YouTubers can go because they already have a following. If Filthy Frank decides that he's sick of YouTube constantly fucking with him, not auto-completing his name in the search bar, putting adult restricted mode on his channel without asking him, and just getting generally sick of them, he can go. Filthy Frank is a huge channel. He might not have the most subscribers, but he gets, I think, about as much views as the biggest YouTubers on the site, because people who watch Filthy Frank don't have YouTube accounts. They just go to watch Filthy Frank. If he goes to a different site, they'll follow him. He doesn't have to worry. He doesn't make any money off it anyways, but I'm just saying, a large YouTuber who is making money could go somewhere else. He'll take a hit financially, but he'll be fine. Another group who can do just fine is the extremely small YouTubers. People like myself. I could at any moment pack up and go to a different site. In fact, I can flirt with a different site. I don't have to commit. I can just upload all my videos to a different site where I know I can make money. And that might be a wise move for me because, well, I'm not making any money here, but if a different site I believe will become large in the future, then getting in on the ground floor is the best situation for me to profit there. People who get into sites who become large when they're still small are the ones who endure with the platform and become successful and become famous on that platform as the platform grows and continues. So small channels could, if they wanted to, go to different sites where they can make ad revenue and put their videos there. It might be the smart thing to do. The only thing preventing me, for example, is outright laziness. I know that it might be smart to just go open a VidMe account, go open an account on minds.com, but I just don't care. I don't have the energy to upload all my videos somewhere else. Now the problem, so nothing is really keeping small YouTubers from leaving. What's keeping huge YouTubers from leaving is that they will take a hit. Because if you actually want to pressure YouTube, you have to not only leave, but you have to also make all your videos private. But once you make them private, you can't continue making money off them. You have to commit to going. So the only way that large YouTubers will actually fuck off to a different site is if they have no other choice. If YouTube really commits to this idea and just, outright kicks them out, stops letting them make any money or deletes their channels, and then they have no choice. They'll go somewhere and take their fans with them. And if that actually happens, then smaller channels will follow, other large channels might follow, and basically a large portion of the community will migrate from YouTube to somewhere else. Now the people who can't just do this are the mid-sized YouTubers, the sort of middle class of YouTube, the people who are making some money, making their salary off YouTube, making the equivalent of a salary. It's not a salary, this isn't a job, but the people who are making this money who don't have a large enough following to start from scratch on a different website, but are not small enough to just lose that portion of their money. People who make their living here but won't make it anywhere else. So this is the position that they're all stuck in. Unless a lot of people just start migrating from YouTube, all you can really do is hope YouTube comes to its senses, or that it's already come to its senses and it's just pretending to actually care about this stuff. There have been a lot of ideas for campaigning to pressure YouTube into doing something, but I don't believe this will work because honestly, I have some compassion for YouTube because YouTube is sort of fucked either way. YouTube is dependent on the creator content. Now, it had made various attempts to change the content. It's deeply trying to censor the content. I mean, the YouTube Heroes program, the attempts to use the voice to text robots to listen to what you're actually saying in a video so they can ban people or demonetize videos even if those videos don't have anything bad in the titles or descriptions. All of that is pretty bad, but generally speaking, YouTube needs to make money, and YouTube, some say, is not financially viable. The cost of hosting these servers does not translate to enough ad revenue for YouTube to continue to exist. I mean, that's what I read somewhere. I don't know how accurate this is, but if it is accurate, then putting pressure on YouTube won't change YouTube, because they're in between a rock and a hard place. They can either tell the advertisers to fuck off, or they can tell the users to fuck off. Either way, they lose money. So their only option is to try to pressure the users to change their content to keep both the users and the advertisers from leaving. So having to choose between advertisers and users, well, they'll choose the advertisers. And if users start leaving, then changing their policies might get them back, but advertisers, a lot of them will still leave. I mean, some of them will realize that this is a place to advertise. They, pretending to be outraged won't not lose them money at this point. But if enough people leave, then they won't return anyways, because even if YouTube changes its platform, well, they're already gone. Basically, so this is to sum up. No, before I sum up, I just like to point out that, the people on YouTube aren't exactly pure white sheep here either, because they're at fault to some degree too. There has been a lot of attempts by YouTubers to sort of use the situation to get more money for themselves, a lot of disgusting e-begging, and basically this is all pretty pathetic because everyone demanding, or well, not demanding, but trying to guilt and shame their audience into giving them money. Let me tell you something. This is not financially viable. You will not get enough people donating money to keep all the channels working currently still working. There aren't enough people watching, there aren't enough people willing to give their money for content that they've been getting for free anyways. This is not going to work. The only thing you can possibly do if you haven't been demonetized completely is try to work harder, make more videos more often, make better videos, sell merchandise, basically put actual work into getting more money. The financial situation changed, you have to change with it. Trying to suck the money out of the ass of your viewers is not only sort of shameful, but even if it wasn't shameful, it simply isn't going to work. So in conclusion, you're all fucked. Either YouTube changes its policies or... my mouth is dry. Anyways, to continue, you're all fucked. Either YouTube goes back to normal, like I suspect it will, or you will have to find a different site to go to and hope that site grows, and you'll be able to make money there. This is a coordinated attack. Well, not coordinated, but a highly positive situation for various people to sort of work together or work separately towards a similar goal that is kind of screwing you over. Putting pressure on YouTube isn't going to do anything, and basically my best offer to you is to go to vid.me. I've looked at them today, and they say that they're working on a ad monetization service. Put some pressure on them, make an account, tell them that you're really excited to start making videos on vid.me, and hope that community grows. Hope that YouTube shits itself completely. If it doesn't go back to normal, hope it shits itself completely, scares a bunch of big YouTubers off, gets them to go to a different site, and everyone just migrates. That's the second best situation after YouTube realizing it's fucking up, or just stop pretending it thinks it's fucking up and just going back to normal. I have no conclusion for this, so I'm just gonna stop the video now.